Hey everyone, welcome back to another video here on Keep Running with BK. And in my video last week, I reminded all of us, perhaps the obvious, but that is that our running should be fun. And I hope that you are enjoying your running. And as promised, I will be sharing in today's video some creative ideas to help keep it fresh, exciting, and help motivate you to keep running. And we'll get to that right after this. Hey everyone, welcome back to another video here on Keep Running with BK, where I share with you running insights, training tips, and motivational ideas to help you to continue to learn, to improve, and to keep running. And I certainly find enjoyment in looking for creative and different ideas to help mix things up and keep my running fresh. And in today's video, that's exactly what I intend to share with you, is ideas for my own running to help you stay motivated. And when we talk about motivation in general, there are really two types of people in the world. There are those who are intrinsically motivated, and there are those who are extrinsically motivated. And in reality, there's probably a blending of both. Some may lean towards one tendency or another, but generally speaking, we probably are influenced by both types. And what do I mean by that? Someone who is intrinsically motivated generally finds it within themselves. They do it for the fun of it, the challenge of it, the purpose of it. They're inwardly driven to get out there in the context we're talking about, pursuing a running goal, getting out there and running day in and day out, for example. Others, however, maybe have a bent towards being extrinsically motivated, where they need a little bit more external help. They need things outside of themselves to help keep them going, almost kind of like dangling a reward out in front of them, or they're motivated to avoid maybe poor health or the consequences of not doing something. I tend to be more intrinsically motivated. I've always just done it because that's who I want to be. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to achieve. And I relish the challenge. That doesn't make me any better than any other person. My wife, who I love more than any other person in the world, and I think the world of, she's more extrinsically motivated. She doesn't necessarily have that inner strength, perhaps, to do it for personal reasons as much as she needs those outside motivators, external motivations to keep her going. And so for her to sign up for a race, or for her to have a reward if she achieves a certain goal or something like that, really helps to keep her motivated. Regardless of which person you tend to lean more towards, or even if you have a both, I hope that today's ideas will appeal to all of us as we all look for ways to keep motivated and to keep running. The first one I want to talk about is, for many of us as runners, signing up for a race is a huge motivation. It gives us a goal to shoot for. It gives us a target to shoot for, whether it be a distance, or maybe we challenge ourselves to set a personal best or an age group best personal record at a given distance. Some of us just like the challenge of competing against other people. As someone who's intrinsically motivated, I personally am more motivated to compete against myself. How can I continually do better? How can I continually improve? And I could be surrounded by hundreds or thousands of people in a big race event, and I'm focused more on beating myself than anything else. One of the challenges at this time of the year when it's winter, however, is that there aren't a lot of races to register for. But I would encourage you, if that's something that motivates you, not to give up. There's lots of creative ideas out there. Personally, during this time of year, one of the local running clubs in the area, they host events year-round, and oftentimes in the winter there's unique winter challenges, be it trail races or other things that may not be your traditional 10K or half marathon or marathon or something along those lines. There are different types of events out there, even in the winter, that one can register for. Another thing that I think can prove helpful is to run somewhere different. Where I live, there's lots of state parks around. There's a lot of local parks around. Many of these parks have different trails. They certainly offer a change of scenery from the day-to-day routine. And many of them over the past year where I have run regularly, or at least consistent enough that some of these trails are becoming a little bit familiar, which for me is not an issue. But for some people, after a while, a particular running route gets familiar and it starts to lose its appeal, and it becomes a little bit harder to motivate themselves. Something that I recently did as a creature of habit: when I go to a park or I go to the nature center and I run on some of these trails, I tend to run in the same direction all the time. And this past time I said, let's try something different. Let's try to run the trail in reverse. So rather than running clockwise, I ran counterclockwise, or vice versa. And it was like I was running on a brand new trail. Trails in general offer a lot of change, a lot of twists and turns. The terrain is constantly changing. There's a lot of technical things that you have to look out for, which kind of engages the mind in a new and fresh way, other than when I run on the roads, where I can check out and just kind of, get into the zone, and I can go into my head and solve world hunger and other types of things. But running a trail in the reverse order, it was like I was in a new place, and I was seeing things from a new perspective and a new angle. Which sometimes can be, that freshness that we need to help us get out the door and keep running. Something I've not done a lot of, but I know for many people, especially those who are more socially motivated than I am, I tend to be more of an introvert. And in the majority of my near 40 years of running, almost all of my running has been by myself. To be honest with you, it's not that I don't enjoy running with other people. I do. There's a few challenges I have. One, because I have been very driven by a lot of my personal running goals or races that I register for, I have very specific training plans, and it's oftentimes a challenge to run with other people if you don't have other people to run with who run the same pace, have the same goals. And in my case, with my work schedule and things like that, even if I had friends who were into running as much as I am and were training for the same thing, we're at the same pace, the same training goals, our schedules would be a real challenge. Oftentimes I need the flexibility to plug in a run where my work schedule allows for it, either being early in the morning or a break between meetings, things like that. So scheduling can be a challenge. But I know there's a lot of people out there who, the social aspect of running and running with other people is one of the things that they enjoy about their running that helps them to get out the door. And joining a local running group or a running club or finding a meetup during the week where you can run with other people can be a huge encouragement. It can be a huge motivator because it has a level of accountability, and also looking forward to having that social interaction during a run. Some of my favorite runs have been when my brother is visiting or I'm visiting my brother and we go for a run together. Or on occasion where I have running friends that I have the opportunity to be conveniently in the same place at the same time, going for a run together and catching up is quite enjoyable. For someone like myself, where that isn't a big thing, I think the biggest challenge perhaps that I have, because I am so goal-oriented, is I don't have a lot of running friends in general that are conveniently located. And even those that I do, we're nowhere near being kind of on the same goal or pace or other things. Is I have certain friends that a couple times a year I'll invite them to meet me on a Saturday morning down at the bike trail when I'm going to do a long run, and I'm going to go run for an hour or two where they ride on their bike alongside of me. And it just allows us to get that quality time together, to be able to catch up and that sort of thing while I run and they ride on a bike. And another thing that I've done that I think can be kind of an externally visible progress thing is I've shared where I've used like a heat map where I have a paper copy of all the streets in the neighborhood or the region that I live in, and as I run on a given street, I'm highlighting it with the goal of eventually running on every street in my neighborhood or in the town that I live in. There's a lot of apps out there, I'm sure, where as you capture your runs and you upload them to something like a Strava or Garmin Connect or some of these other places where they have utilities and tools, some of them free, some of them you have to pay for with a subscription or what have you, but I'm sure they're available where you can get a heat map of where you've done your running and you can look for places that you haven't run yet. And that's a great thing, I say, over the winter when maybe you're not doing a lot of speed work, but you just need to put in the training volume to build up your mileage and to build up your endurance strength. Just having fun exploring your neighborhood or exploring a particular area. I've often gone to parks on vacations and they have trails, and so the goal is to run on all the trails. There is a particular park not too far from here that I've gone to on occasion that has natural bridges, and there's like, I don't know, maybe 39. I don't know exactly what number, but there's like a significant number of different natural bridges throughout the park, and I thought it'd be fun. I got a map and I started highlighting those trails that I run to try to go and see all of the arches, so we can get creative with some of these ideas, just to give us something different to do, change the scenery, mix it up, and keep us going. One of the other things that I've recently given some thought to is if you use a social media site like Strava, where you can interact with other people, you can post your training runs and things like that, kind of in a social platform, and interact with one another. Some of them have built-in functionality that provides some creative ways to engage with your running, engage with other people. And one of those things is this idea of segments, where people with a subscription to the site can kind of map out a stretch of road or a trail or what have you and indicate it as a segment. And then when you run those particular segments, it keeps track of how many times you've run it. It keeps track of, what your personal best is. And it also can keep track of, what's the best time in different categories. So this particular one here, this Meadow Creek to Old 28, the best time for a male is 6:26. Best for a female is 7:02. My personal best is 6:34. And you can set a personal goal for it, which is one of the things that I'm going to be doing in the new year. But if you look at a particular segment, kind of give you a map of that segment. You can get up here, you can kind of see what's your personal best, how many times have you run that particular segment. You can see who the local legend is. So maybe one of your motivational ideas is you want to become a local legend of a particular segment. And basically, I think you have to run at least 10 times that effort, and you have to be the one with the most in the past 90 days. Maybe that's something. Just set out to be a local legend in a particular segment. Some of the other things that you can look at, some of these segments is, there's a leaderboard. I don't have a subscription to Strava, so there's lots of different ways you can look at this and dissect the data to help motivate you. But the free one that's on here is the overall. And as I mentioned, my best time is 6:32. I currently hold the second best time over this segment. And so maybe one of your motivational goals is to work your way up the leaderboard. One of my personal goals for next year is actually to not only be the legend of this particular segment, but to be at the top of the leaderboard. And so, again, just some target out there to dangle in front of me that's not necessarily a distance specific or race specific. There's lots of segments out there, so there's lots of different things that you can do to challenge yourself just to stay motivated and to mix things up a little bit. One of the other things is, there's things like within Strava, you can sign up for various challenges. There's constant new ones coming out all the time. For instance, for the current month, I can say click on running here to filter it on running. And typically what I do each month is I sign up for the run distance challenge, which is a challenge to reach 200 kilometers. But there's a climbing challenge. There's an endurance challenge for 300 kilometers. I don't know that I've ever run 300 kilometers or more in a given month, so I typically don't sign up for that one. But that might be one just to stretch myself that I consider signing up for. Just to kind of put a challenge out there to chase. If 200 or 300 kilometers a month is too much, they also have a running challenge where you can do 100 kilometers that you can sign up for. You can sign up for a 10K, 5K, half marathon. There's all kinds of distances out there. Typically, I just put out there the running distance challenge for 200 kilometers and the half marathon challenge, just to challenge myself to run at least a half marathon once per month. It doesn't have to be an official race. It could be a training run. And one of the things that I do that just keeps me honest in my long runs, and it makes sure that I keep that half distance within reach at any given time. And so I challenge myself to at least monthly run that distance and see that achievement pop up on my Strava account. And you'll see like a little badge. You'll see this little icon here. You'll get kind of a little badge of honor for reaching that achievement. I also use Garmin Connect, as I use a Garmin smartwatch to track my running. And Garmin has a similar thing under their challenges where there's a whole variety of things that are out here that people have set up. You can even create your own, I believe. I've never done that, but I think there's the ability to do that. But you can challenge yourself to do things, and I typically, like to see how quickly I can get to 50 miles in a given month. So I usually get the 50-miler. As you can see, here's November, October. They had this stage challenge this year, which I don't remember exactly how that worked, but I think it was 505 kilometers for each 3-month period to get to, I think it was 220 kilometers for the year of 2020. And so I've been able to chase after that. They've had other challenges. One of the nice things about some of these is I think there's some other creative ones that are out here that people have, or that Garmin puts out here, that you can pursue. And some people actually look for, collecting these badges. And for someone who isn't necessarily distance driven or, goal driven as far as a target race or target time, some people just have fun challenging themselves to see how many different badges they can get. Again, we're not all motivated after the same things. And something like this, looking for what badges are out there and what you have to do to get them, can create a lot of variety of options out there and just really mix it up. And I see the appeal. I understand the appeal of that. And who doesn't like to collect a wide variety? If this is something that interests you, I believe probably other platforms for other smartwatch providers have something similar. I believe many of them have a Facebook group that you can join where they share, hey, I just got this particular badge. And I've not necessarily participated in those. I did sign up for one of those just to kind of learn more about it. And every once in a while, you'll see one that pops up that someone's achieved that I didn't even know existed. And it just gives you another, creates awareness of some of these other challenges out there. And people seek to collect these things, which gives you another motivational idea. Well, I don't want to take up a whole lot more of your time. There's lots of different creative ways that we can motivate ourselves to continue to learn about ourselves, to improve our fitness, to improve our running abilities, and to keep running over the course of the year or over a course of a particular season like we're experiencing here in where I live with the cold temperatures of winter approaching. But all of us need to be reminded again, keeping with this theme that apparently I've been talking a lot about this month of keeping our running fun. Yeah, we want to keep challenging ourselves. Yeah, we need to stay motivated. One of the biggest ways of doing that is to remember running should be fun. And I, again, just want to throw the question out there. What are some things that you have done to help you stay motivated, that are fun ideas, creative ideas that maybe other listeners and viewers of this particular channel can get? If you have one of those, share it down in the comments. And as we get ideas from one another, we'll help to motivate each other to stay active, to continue to pursue our goals, and to keep running. And as always, stay safe, train smart, and keep running.